Hello, everyone. Welcome to our program today. My name is Ray LaPalkin, and this is the Universal Peace Federation, where we're promoting interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. So if those ideas resonate with you, please get in touch with us. Our information will be up on the board, occasionally on the screen. And today we're going to be watching a webinar from one of our associations, IMAP, the International Media Association for Peace. And the webinar was titled Media, Civility, Independence, and Integrity. And I think integrity is a key word there, perhaps, because so many people are saying now they don't know what to believe or trust in the media anymore. And it really comes down to the integrity of the journalists. And so we're trying to get a grasp on this and understand what can we believe and what is true and honest and journalism with integrity. So our guest speakers today is Carol Martindale. She leads the editorial department at the Nation Publishing Company down in the Caribbean, and Ms. Laura Hornbeck, who is with a representative from the Women's Association for Peace. So please enjoy the video.
Please join me in welcoming Carol Martindale.
Thank you so much, Peggy. Thanks to everyone on the panel. I hope you can hear me because I had some challenges before. I'm
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm so happy about that because I started to panic a little bit. But I had my trusted IT team member next to me, so he was trying to help me. So I'm actually using my phone. So forgive me, I'm not on my computer where I'm most comfortable. So thanks a lot to everybody, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this esteemed panel. I know I have 10 to 12 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep my points as concise as possible. I thought long and hard about the topics, and I looked at them and I kind of broke them down. I wanted to make sure that I touched each and every aspect that is posed in the questions for us to discuss here. And I pondered the fact that journalism has changed so much from the time when I entered at 18. Please do not try to do the math. Don't do the math. But at the time, there was no social media. I figure that's the same for most of us on the panel. So there was no social media. There's no cell phones, no competition from digital media, new media. Things are so different now. I mean, we all could attest to how much things have changed. But while the media landscape has changed, I truly believe, particularly as somebody still practicing journalism, that the basic tenets of this profession have not changed. Our role remains the same. We are here to educate, to inform the public, to help put issues out there into perspective. And we all know that there's so many issues that come up every single day. And we're here to help shape thoughts. We're here to help provoke debate as well. Be inclusive while giving a voice to the voiceless, those who are not really heard. Journalists must be fair and unbiased, although we know we all bring our own personal biases to a situation or stories. But when we are writing, we should be free from bias. We must be credible, and our integrity must always remain intact. There's so much happening in the world today that our various publics really depend on us to make sure we get it right. If we look at even COVID-19, the pandemic that we're now past, even though there is still COVID-19, the virus around, so many people would have relied on us as credible media, whether it's newspaper, radio, doesn't matter. But mainstream media, I find certainly here in Barbados, our people depended on the traditional media to give them information. And the crazy but interesting thing about COVID-19 was that we were all, no matter where in the world you are, we were all dealing with the same thing all at the same time. COVID didn't choose Barbados and not Denver, or it didn't choose London and not Russia. Everybody was dealing with this pandemic all at the same time. And the truth of it is, because it was new, and we know that our research tells us and history tells us that when there is a crisis, in this case, it was a pandemic, whenever there is a crisis, our readers, our public look or tend to look to traditional media to help them sort through the maze, sort through the mounds of information that's coming at them at warp speed. And I believe our role is to help sort that mess out for people. Everyone also has a voice. Gone are those days when readers just wrote letters. So for example, at my newspaper at The Nation, we have a letters to the editor column. I don't know if it's happening, if you guys have seen it in other parts, but everyone now kind of resorts to social media to vent. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is an expert on everything, including being a journalist. What you should write, what you shouldn't write, what you should put in, who you should talk to. It's just the craziest thing. But it's also a good thing because more people feel invested and they want to talk and they want to share. But guys, we don't lose sight of our role, even with all of that happening. So at our newspapers, we don't get as many letters as we used to. We still get some, but we welcome the debate. We welcome the different voices because also sometimes they do cause for pause and makes us as journalists as well say, oh, well, that's an interesting point. We didn't explore that angle. So that's how everything has changed. And of course, people do, they want to be heard. So what that has meant for us as journalists is that part of our role has changed in a sense. Not the role, but perhaps how we do some of the things we do. And it also makes us be aware of how important it is for us to be trained and experienced enough and knowledgeable enough to really show our public what is going on and to help them. Because sometimes people are reading more than perhaps we are, and perhaps have a lot more access to information than sometimes we do. Because when we're doing a story, we are looking at a particular area. Whereas somebody out there who's just really interested in a particular topic, they're pulling information, kind of like, I don't know, artificial intelligence or something, but pulling information from all different sources. So you'll find sometimes people can actually challenge journalists on what they're writing. And that's not a bad thing either, because it has to keep us on our toes. The part that I'm going to focus a little bit on, what can be done to ensure reporting is fair and unbiased. And I've written just a couple bullet points for us to think about and ponder and perhaps discuss. We must constantly ensure that we do not drop our standards. It's really easy to do that in anything we do. And when you're competing against social media, that's fast. Everything is fast. We want to be the first out with breaking news and get it out there, but we have to be accurate. So we don't want to sacrifice accuracy and balanced stories and fair stories to be quick and for haste. So we have to make sure we don't drop our standards. We must also make sure that we hire good talent. Again, I can speak to my own experiences here at The Nation. I've been here for, as Peggy said, more than 35 years. I'm like a dinosaur. That's the reality. I don't think that I will find people here in Barbados, and I believe I can speak for a global perspective. However, I'll speak about Barbados. I don't believe that I'm going to find people entering journalism and staying for 35 years. I think that's all gone. I don't believe that's going to happen. I have had someone who just resigned, and they were only here for, I want to say, about 7 months, didn't make it a year, because the grind of this profession also, she realized, and she's 21, and she said, this is not for me. This is not for me. The long hours, the grind, the running from this to that, it's not for her. So I somehow think we're not going to find people who are staying as long as perhaps we have. What I do think, though, and what I do look for is good talent. So even if I don't stress the time, I stress the quality, so that then I think we have to focus a lot more on hiring good talent, fit for purpose. We have to strive to get the best people who are passionate about the profession and about helping people, because at the end of the day, it really comes down to helping people. We also have to stress training and exposure for our journalists as well, because it helps us with perspective. It also helps us to break down and understand information and issues. I can't speak to someone about the IMF and what they're doing if I myself don't understand the IMF and the reasons for the IMF and what's happening financially in our country. I will never sit and pretend that I am a big guru when it comes to financial matters, but I do know that I need people who can break that down for our readers. And the only way we can do that successfully is if we have people who are trained in that area and trained to understand the issues and the topics and can handle the subject matters, and therefore speak and educate and inform our public. So we must understand the issues. We have to also recognize too that we all, and I mentioned it previously, we all come with various biases, but I do know with stories it's not about what you believe, because you're not writing for yourself. You are writing to educate and inform. So you have to more or less park your biases or your bias and write the story in a fair, balanced, and credible way. If I look at the second part, and I'm conscious of the time, so I'm moving very quickly. So I've dealt with the reporting. How do we ensure that reporting is fair and unbiased? I'm sorry. How then can the media help citizens from different religious and political backgrounds work towards a mutual understanding? Let me share a real experience with you. It happened just as recently as less than 2 years ago. This is just for context. In Barbados, some of you may or may not know, Barbados was once called Little England. We're now a republic. That's a first. That's more or less history in the making for us. And we would have cut ties with England and the monarchy in November 2021. So that was a major deal for our country, which would have gained its independence in 1966. That's when the Charter of Barbados was introduced. That's from 2021, when we became a republic. So with the becoming of a republic came a new charter. There was then a Republican status, I'm trying to get it right, Republican Status Transition Advisory Committee, which was responsible for formulating the charter. The intention and the objective of that document was to acknowledge that all beings were equal in the eyes of the Creator. There was a member of the Senate. He's a priest himself, Anglican priest. And Barbados, let me also say, Barbados is a very religious society, very Christian. He said, Barbados is a multi-faith society, and rather than putting a term that belongs to any particular religion, we put a term that could be assessed by all religions. It was then deemed that the word creator be utilized, replacing the word God, as it can be assessed by all. Accessed by all. Some people obviously had a different view. Remember, I said, for context, Barbados is a very religious society, it being Christian. There was a lot of objection to the document because for many, the word creator was replacing God, which most of us acknowledge as the person we pray to in Barbados. There's a group called the Family Faith Freedom Group. There was a lot of pushback from the group. They objected vehemently and countered with the statement, "We need God under a Barbados Republic." The main argument and objection was based on the fact that the charter, without justification, removes the common, long-held, resolute, and existing belief in the sovereignty of God or Creator, as enshrined in the Charter of Barbados in 1966. So where did the media sit with this issue? And again, this was a major issue for Barbados. It went on for months and months and months. Now, the role of the media in that scenario was not to side with the group, the transitionary committee, nor was it to side, its role was to side with the people who were against the replacing of God, the word God. Our role in that scenario was to report on from both sides, and all other people who gave pushback, all those who were in favor, all those who were not for it. And it was fast and furious in terms of information coming to us. It was one that we had to check ourselves as individuals and as media houses. Of course, you know, the editorial is the stance of the newspaper. So we had to even be very careful in our editorial writing, because whereas I am Christian and I do pray to God, who makes me right? Why am I, as a journalist or as editor-in-chief, why would I mandate my company or my team of editors to only report on the group that gave the pushback to being replaced, the word creator being replacing God? That's not my role. And the role of the media is to bring all of the views together, because we also have to recognize our public is more discerning than ever before. We have people are capable of independent thought. They can discern and they will make their choices for themselves. We didn't have to push anything down anybody's throat, nor did it mean that we, because of our own biases, sit and tell the public through our writings, and we can be very smart with, because we're wordsmiths, so we can be very smart in how we write. You can also get some editorializing in copy, especially news copy, not columns, that if you're not careful, it can steer your public in a particular direction. And I'm not talking about columnists, because I'm a columnist and I get it. I'm talking about news writers, and we need to be careful. We needed to be careful with this issue. It's a sensitive issue. We have a thing in Barbados, you don't talk about cricket. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game cricket. You don't talk about cricket, and you don't talk about religion, because it always ends in a big debate and confusion and everything. But we had to recognize that our role as journalists was not to side with any particular group. It really was to bring the facts.
Laura Andrews Hornbeck. Laura was born and she grew up in the Dallas, Texas area. She has a BA in English from the University of North Texas, and she has worked as a teacher, public library director, and professional editor. Laura served as the Texas director of the Women's Federation for World Peace, USA, from 2001 to 2015. And from 2019 to 22, she was the communications consultant for Women's Federation International and edited that organization's 30th anniversary commemorative book. A founding member of the local chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution, she enjoys learning about history. She currently lives in the countryside near Van Alstyne, Texas, with her husband, Larry, an inventor and retired engineer for Texas Instruments. So please join me in welcoming Laura Hornbeck.
Hi, thank you, Peggy. Thank you so much for that introduction. Yeah, this is really great to be here. I was nervous about coming here. It's like such an important topic. I've always been interested in the written word, media. It's not just written, but also spoken, of course, communication. So the two previous speakers are so insightful, and of course, I just want to say I've known Esther Davis for many years, and I'm so grateful. I created a short little power to share with you, so I can tell you just a little bit more about Global Women's Peace Network, which is the organization and the Women's Federation for World Peace. Let me just get the right screen here. There we go. I think. Is that good? Can you see it? Okay. So basically, thanks to this organization, the Women's Federation for World Peace and the Global Women's Peace Network, which is a project of Women's Federation, I have been able to meet people from every walk of life. And I thank this group for having brought Esther Davis into my life. Esther and I grew up in Texas, but we were like in parallel worlds. And if it, there has to be a way for people to meet and really get to know one another. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So I really give credit to Women's Federation because we, through this group, we met, and I met so many other people. So one of the key points here is that the world is calling for peace, reconciliation, compassion, love, service, and sacrifice. And this is an age in which our current problems cannot be solved by the masculine logic of power. In this age, we need to solve problems and straighten out the direction of history by the feminine logic of love. This is straight from the Women's Federation website and the founder of Women's Federation, co-founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. One of the most important points that was brought up by Ms. Martindale, the whole point about the creator. Our society has lost its connections, really, and it's really pretty much thought that we can forget about where we came from, who created us, and then we can just lose our way so easily. And I see this happening in our society, American society. So Women's Federation is founded by Dr. Hak Jahan Moon and her late husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon. And the point is, we try to be inclusive with all faiths, all people, and whether we call the creator God, Allah, we still recognize that we didn't make ourselves, we didn't choose our parents, and we didn't choose where we were born, and we really can't recreate who we are, what we look like. We can only deal with reality in the most positive way. So this is a picture, of co-founder Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. And our group, we like to talk about true love, which are the sweetest words. I love you, because through love, all life begins. But love has to be practiced with moral responsibility. And this is also a point that needs to be truly emphasized in our culture today. Love and creation, everything, sexuality, So this, the Global Women's Peace Network is a project. Women's Federation is a 501c3 organization, so it has a membership, it has dues. WFWP.us is the website here. And then Global Women's Peace Network is a project. It's a much more loosely defined project. Basically, any that brings together leaders, organizations, and governments to solve pressing social issues and secure an environment for equitable human development. This picture here is from Las Vegas in 2019 when the Global Women's Peace Network was launched all across the country. And here we were in Las Vegas, and I was one of the MCs here. It was a really great, Women as the Turning Point for Peace was our theme. So these are the areas of impact for global women. I'm going to go through them. Women's leadership, family, environment. I'm just going to go back real quick. Women's leadership, a culture of peace calls for new leadership. paradigms where masculine and feminine can harmonize and enhance each other's strengths and provide a place for the rise of future leaders. We strongly support harmony between male and female because this is the nature of our world. And if we can't come together in peace and love, actually, then our world cannot live in peace. So if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. That's something that Mother Teresa said. And then we strongly support family. We emphasize family as the most fundamental and natural unit in society. Family is a place where love between husband and wife is shared. Life itself is created. Core values and culture are transmitted, and the tools necessary for citizenship in a culture of peace are provided. This needs strong emphasis. And then environment. We don't have to fight about environmentalism. We all live in this earth. The earth is our home, and it belongs to all of us collectively. It should be treated with respect and awe, and cultivated and shared with the intention to enhance, develop, and protect it for future generations. So Global Friends is a project, another aspect of Global Women. And this is on the website here, wfwp.us/GWPN. I wanted to emphasize that the website is quite extensive. We have a very good website, really. So you can go there for all information that you might want. And this I just had to include, Esther. We went together to Korea in 2019. We attended a Women's Federation event there. And Esther, we were all greeted at the airport at Incheon by this robot that comes up and talks to you and welcomes you. And it's really an amazing experience. And here we are. This was the international leader of our Women's Federation group, Dr. Lan Young Moon. And there's Angelica Selly, former Women's Federation USA president, Katerina Connery, and Esther, and myself. So, again, this is an example of experiences that we've had because of this incredibly broad and, diverse organization. And so we had to go over to find this. We stayed at the Latte Hotel. We were roommates, and we went underground to the food court. And we found this, sort of like the mall, in a shopping mall. They had so many options. We had to get a photo here in front of the Dallas Barbecue restaurant. We didn't end up eating there, but it's just such a wonderful experience. So relationships are everything. We celebrate who we are as daughters and sisters, wives and mothers, aunts, friends, grandmothers. We're all leaders of heart. We have to emphasize that's the truly wonderful thing about this group. And this is where you go for more information. And New York is the national office for Women's Federation and Global Women.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you got some ideas on what true journalism should be and the integrity of journalism. And perhaps all of us can be more aware of that as we read our newspapers, or whether we watch news on television or on the internet, wherever it might be, to really understand and try to grasp the concept of integrity. So thank you for joining us today. As always, I'd like to promote the founders of our association, the Universal Peace Federation, Dr. Reverend Sun Myung Moon and his wife, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, the co-founders. So their biographies are complimentary. Please get in touch with me if you are interested in one. And you can find out more about our organization at us.upf.org. So thank you for joining us today.